So now let's talk about Waldbauer a little bit. We have some existing photos that show you basically that sort of one half of it is ball fields, and that remains. There's the Ryder Avenue parking, which is also significantly large, but it can be improved. So we'll do that. And then behind Creative Bay, you have the existing play space, and you have the community garden, really successful community garden back there. So there's a lot going on that works, but we're trying to now incorporate all these things into a whole. Here you go, Waldbauer Park. Again, on the left-hand side, you have all of the ball fields. The ponds basically divide the park in half. And then you have all the things we just described behind 380 Bay and the Youth Center on the right-hand side. And the top 5 physical uses you wanted to see here was the continuation of baseball, got it. Walking, dog walking, again, without the dog park, but you can certainly walk your dog on the trails. Bird watching and exercise, which again, in this case, is going to be some sports and also the opportunity to continue walking. So in our 3 bubble diagrams here, we sort of named these kind of the existing plus. So this is kind of what you have, but a little bit better. So the trails around both of the ponds are formalized, the ball fields remain, and because of that, they take up quite a bit of space. Really what we could do on this side of the ponds is really create some berms, some landscaped areas to kind of define the walking trail, and to give you a little bit of enclosure as you're walking around these trails. A lot of people indicated that while they wanted to have the ponds restored and nature and interpretive science go up, they didn't want to have it so open that all of the wildlife had no cover and they were going to take off, because that sort of defeated the purpose. So we're trying to create a little bit of cover, a little bit of enclosure, but still plenty of eyes into that space so that people don't feel that when they're walking around the space, now they're a little bit too secluded. Okay. Behind 380 Bay, we've moved the play between the Youth Services Building and 380 Bay. We've moved the nature garden, which is actually over here, up behind 380 Bay because we've increased the area of parking here. And the reason we did that was because in this plan, basketball remains where it is. And the issue with basketball being there was actually the parking as related to basketball. It didn't seem to be the basketball location itself, but the fact that with all of the cars and the parking and radios and things, that was disturbing the neighbors. So we thought, all right, well, we'll take the parking out of one of our versions and move the parking. Between that, we have nature interpretive areas as you walk around the pond, some picnic areas, and the formalization of what's kind of a pickup soccer area in the middle here. In the next version, this is kind of the greener version. This is really the go-go nature version because we've increased the amount of green. So we've created a formal trail here right next to 380 Bay that's immediately planted with native plants. You come in past the playground, which is in the existing location but slightly enlarged, and you can sort of envision that nature play equipment that we'd seen before. A picnic area between the Nature Discovery Center here on the pond and the playground. And so all of these things would work together as you sort of sat in the area. You could go to the Nature Discovery Center, which would have places for kids to look at paw prints for animals and press signs and find out what bird calls are, that kind of thing. And then we have generous open lawn and meadow spaces on either side of the pond. That could be used for flexible space or just remaining a meadow. Again, a different type of landscape, something to learn about, and something more interesting to walk around. Okay, the community garden moves over here in this plan, so it has room to expand should you like to do that. And then here we've increased or turned this road really into more of a parking lot, so it would have sort of headed parking along one side. So it's improving the parking here, but now the parking is not associated with active recreation. It's associated with the community garden and the people who are coming in there to do the nature trails. And in the third version here, this is kind of the pro soccer version. So we've added 2 fields for 10 and under kids, one here and a small one up here that could be striped over the ball fields. I think I forgot to mention that in the last one. No. Soccer field here. This is actually a junior high soccer field. Again, this could just be striped over the outfield so that when baseball wasn't happening, you could still use the fields for soccer without having to have a whole big space just dedicated to soccer. Okay, back to our third version here. Basketball. I'll mention that too. Okay. Behind Youth Services, the basketball is located here. And you have the Nature Interpretive Center in this location with picnic areas, the community gardens here with an adjacent small parking lot. And again, as we go around the fields, this is really kind of the same situation here with different types of landscape and screening. And the native garden remains here. The mayor wanted me to mention that this is Clementi Field here, and this is the field that's being expanded. It's getting bigger and improving and going to be great, and that's hopefully going to be done by next year, right? Opening day, April of next year. So April, that's my birthday, all right. So on my birthday, we'll be playing ball. Yeah, so this field is going to expand and receive a lot of improvements. And we've already walked that site and seen how that's going to impact the ponds. We're good. Okay, so we decided to go with basically the second plan, which is more of the nature trail paths, because that seemed to be overwhelmingly across the board what people really, really wanted to see at this park was the improvement of the nature trails, nature interpretation, wildlife observation, bird watching. And so we've made the most of that. So that's the plan with the community garden here, and the parking strip located in here. This is an open lawn with some of those swing seats, and we've opened up the pond in front of this area here so you get these nice views into the pond. As you walk around the pond here, there are some berms, a meadow space, and two little paths that lead down to the water. One of them has that sort of landscape frame, because you can really frame a beautiful view as you're on that pond, and the other one has some sort of a bird blind. It wouldn't be, just so you understand, a bird blind that's sort of solid with just one little slit in it. It can be something like what we showed before, which is kind of almost like a lattice fence. So something you can sort of see through. It screens a lot of your movements from the wildlife you're trying to observe, but not totally blocking everything. Okay, so as you're making your way to Shorefront Park, we have this picnic area located in here. It would be a good place for the badminton courts we mentioned before, and perhaps some horseshoes, lots of shade, lots of picnic tables. And then the connection over to Shorefront here is through this lovely new area, which would be a sculpture garden. And I know we talked about the art, but this would be a great place to have some sort of sculpture, whether it's permanent, hopefully it could be some local artists, perhaps it's a rotating exhibit or an exhibit for children that's interactive or kinetic. We located that here. And the other thing that Allison started to mention was this bit here, the idea that we would really like to daylight that pond right up to Smith Street and have a bridged crossing over that pond and use this to sort of alleviate some of that flooding going in and out. A lot of the problems have to do with the constriction of this pond and then trying to get under the road. So again, that's something that we in VHB are studying and trying to figure out how we can alleviate a lot of that drainage pressure from Little Creek. We have a blow up. So this shows you a little bit more about what's going on behind 380 Bay. You see the basketball. This will now become sort of the main trail entrance. You've got the nature play over here, the picnic area. And then in this nature discovery zone, you have things like boardwalks and stepping logs and a willow arch, something that's a live growing plant structure that kids can go in, birds' nests, all those kinds of things for them to enjoy and learn from. Community garden over here, and then we added a children's garden here, which might also include things like a butterfly garden. And the native garden remains.